The bounty hunters. Wonder how long their parties are going to last, Bike notes as he reclines all the way back in his command chair. He's on bridge duty, which means that until Pukey wakes up, he's acting captain. He's also in control of the communications, the pilot, and literally every other bridge position as everyone's doing something, mostly sleeping. But they need someone on the bridge. So he's on the bridge. A communication pops up and he activates things as he puts a tritite credit into his place in his book and sets it to the side. He sits up again and allows the message through. Best part about his implant? Hands-free bridge control. He can borderline nap through his damn shifts. This is Drake Engel, communications officer of the Chainbreaker. This is Divine Leader Thread, communicating from the Shield of Steadfast Devotion. Confirmed, Divine Leader. How may I help you? Bike asks. Where is the rest of the bridge crew? The Divine Leader Thread asks him. The majority of the crew is adjusted to a different day and night cycle from the spaceport of Mordonon. I can rouse them, but I advise that for emergencies only, or with a large amount of warning so we can adjust our rest schedules appropriately. Are you similarly adjusted? Yes, but I went to bed a few hours early in order to rest enough before my shift at the bridge began. Now back to topic. Is there anything you need? Bike asks, taking a sip of his nearby tea. He flinches a little. It's cold. He throws it back anyways. He'll need the caffeine if things are picking up. There has been pressure placed on me from the command class of the Empire. Divine Leader Thread begins and Bike nods. The fact that your crew has officially placed the responsibility for hunting down and killing the Gestalt monster upon your trainee Schmidt means that several concerns have been raised. Are they accusing us of child abuse? Bike demands. Not directly. However, concerns have been raised. Divine Leader Thread states, by Lablan law, I have to keep you within the Mordonan system as an inspector approaches. Poor payment for services rendered. It is. However, due to the address that you secured from Lord Skitterway, an enormous amount of attention was placed onto this system. Couple that with the first contact, the corruption and the Gestalt, and many, many women are currently doing everything they can to be seen as doing something about the situation. Great. What are the odds that someone's going to try to actually take him away from us? Bike asks. I couldn't tell you. I'm only familiar with a small number of the nobles that are pushing for things, and that's because they've served as officers alongside me. Thread explains. Great. This is some reward for helping. I agree. It is a shameful way to treat people that have risked their lives to preserve the integrity and safety of the Empire and its peoples. However, many women are singing the song of Save the Children, which is a tune very few can resist singing along with. The problem is that a major part of Slytherin's psychological healing has been him having a large amount of bodily autonomy, and he has refused point blank to have a proper regenerative coma, which we have respected, but it has left him covered in the scars of the abuse he received at the hands of the Chaining's crew. I understand. However, some women would consider such to be abusive, and forcing him to undertake a non-life-saving medical operation is also an abusive act. Yes. If some unthinking twit tries to bring harm to him or us, then there will be no evidence they ever existed outside of documentation. Bike says, and Divine Leader Thread raises an eyebrow. Your ship is surrounded. She reminds him, target-rich environment. He dismisses. And I do believe you would try, perhaps even succeed. So the question is, what can we do to prevent a completely unnecessary skirmish? Let me wake up the rest of the crew. This is an all-hands-on-deck kind of situation. Bike says even as his implant sends a text to all communicators and forcibly turns on all the lights in everyone's room to an eye-gouging level while blasting the sound of an air horn through the speakers. Of course, Thread says, unaware of the sheer amount of chaos and swear words being thrown around the ship, or the oncoming stampede of highly alerted soldiers moving at a dead sprint to the bridge. The door opens and all the men rush through. What's the emergency? Pukey demands. The exhausted eye bags and numerous massive hickeys tell a story. We've got an entire empire looking at us, and high-ranked Karens decided that since Scaly is getting the credit for the monster kill, there are concerns about his treatment. Bike explains, putting his hands up and drawing the air quotes. The fuck? The freshly arrived Slytherin demands. Right behind him is a concerned Litha who has codes starting to run down her eyes as she quickly looks through research. So, what's a Karen? Divine Leader Thread asks. Petty administrators on a power trip, or worse, some random person trying to assert non-existent authority over someone else for some reason. Have you ever heard of someone being mistaken for an employee by an abusive customer? Bike asks. Once or twice. The abuser is a Karen, especially if they refuse to admit fault afterwards. Bike explains. Basically, anyone who's a position of authority doing things for petty reasons and making a nuisance of themselves just because they can. I see. And what will happen if the child support worker is such a person? Then we'll ask for a different one to be sent due to massive personality conflicts. And if that's refused, what will happen if she deems you as unfit guardians for him? Shouldn't that come down to what he wants? Pukey asks, and Slytherin moves up next to him. What's going on? It's the wrong buzzer for a medical emergency, Cindy asks, walking in with a very fussy and upset little Orhanas in her arms. We have the full attention of the Lablan Empire and its people, including the petty bureaucrats desperate to be seen doing something, and us giving Slytherin his well-earned victory for hunting down the gestalt behind the shimmering sands has raised concerns. Bike explains, throwing up air quotes at the end. Even if we clarify that the only times I was in danger, I was immediately pulled out of it, and I was only expected to control drones after my investigations shook out results, Slytherin asks. They're more likely to point out the clear physical harm you've endured. Divine Leader Thread answers, and Slytherin goes very, very still. And if it wasn't there, Slytherin asks, they would have a lot less to work with. Thread says, and Slytherin goes still, his mechanical eyes shifting numerous times, and he sighs. Moms, he says before looking from Cindy to Litha, I'm not letting some professional idiot take me away. If I need a healing coma to stay, then I'm staying, but I want to keep my implants. That's actually a lot easier than you may think. There are special healing comas designed to work with prosthetics. Is there any other bad news on the way? Well, not bad per se, but just as there are women concerned for Slytherin's health, there are those that want to be seen giving proper accolades to the hero of the day. According to the messages available over public discourse, while there are several different child care specialists inbound to evaluate Slytherin's circumstances, there are also several nobles debating with each other over whom will be presenting him with what awards for services to the Empire. Debating is a far kinder word than I'd use, Bike notes as he looks up from the small screen he's been scanning through things as well. What kind of awards? Are they going to ram citizenship down his throat and use that to kidnap him? Pukey asks in a cautious tone. Some of the discussed awards to award citizenship, the Crystal Star of Lablan awards noble status as well. If they want me in a stupid hat, then they can, Slytherin begins to say, and Pukey reaches an arm around his shoulders, then holds his mouth shut. Do remember that the child service types will likely get access to these records, and swearing might not look good for them. You're going to roll over for a bunch of pushy bureaucrats? I'm saying I'd rather leave the Empire on good terms and not dodging plasma, Pukey says. You're staying with us either way, but one of them feeds into Air Farce's ego and the other doesn't. You're right. We need to keep the man humble or the sheer smug will blow the atmospherics, Slytherin says in a haunted tone, and Air Farce slowly turns to flip them both off. He then throws his hands up a little as if confused and frustrated. Is that normal? A word of advice, Divine Leader through Thread. When human males insult each other, it's almost always entirely a well-meaning joke. It's a bonding method, Cindy explains. It confused me at first as well, but generally, if they're just randomly insulting each other, they're in a calm and downright playful state, even with the possibility of trainee Schmidt being taken from them. There's a human phrase for that, Pukey says, and that would be, over my dead body. He states in Divine Leader to Thread pauses. I see. You are that protective of him? Yes. Good. I'm sorry for the mess coming your way. When you promised my adept that you'd get Lord Skitterway to speak, I thought it an empty platitude. If I had known you actually would, I would have asked for such a release to be delayed so things like this could be avoided. It sounds like you're not fully approving of the Empire. One does not become greater by failing to look upon your failures. Such things lead only to stagnation and further failure in the future. Divine Leader Thread states, "How many awards am I getting for this? What do they even mean?" Slytherin asks. "Well, nothing stable, Uyed, but at minimum one. Many of them are speaking about the Crystal Star, which confers not only citizenship, but ennobles the holder. The Crystal Star of Lablin is awarded when one proves themselves to hold themselves to the highest standards of the Empire, even when it does not ask it of them. It's reserved for non-citizens who have performed feats of bravery and brilliance beyond any and all expectation." "Suit you well, kiddo," Pukey remarks, and Slytherin buries his face in his hands. "Dad, they could use it to take me away. They won't get far, at least. They won't if they want to keep their empire," Pukey states in an even tone as he meets Thread's gaze evenly. "You would face the entire empire for him? He's my son. You'll need more than an empire," Pukey says confidently. "I almost want to challenge that, but I've seen you fight. It would be a fatal mistake," Divine Leader Thread notes in a vaguely awed tone. "I'll take that as a compliment, ma'am, but if you'd like a formal spar, I am certainly willing." "No fair, Pukey. You've gotten so much action, and your call sign nearly broke our good friend here. What does Pukey translate to in your head?" Dong asks. "Or how about dong for that matter?" Pukey asks, giving Dong pointed look. "Well, in the language that made Pukey so funny, dong just means past. But Pukey means little skittering, a story based around a cowardly child who could neither lie nor stand up for themselves." "Yeesh," Pukey mutters. "Yes, so your call sign is the same as a cautionary tale about keeping fragile little males close and protected and safe, otherwise they'll go out and could die of fright." Pukey puts a hand on his chest as if wounded, as most everyone tries to suppress the snorts that are sneaking out in blatant amusement. "Well, hopefully that story's not so popular anymore. Otherwise, a lot of people are going to be laughing at me. It's mostly in arachnid circles, teaching the importance of protecting your delicate little brother, son or father, from the dangers of the outside world." Divine Leader the Thread teases somewhat. "I see," Pukey says, even as Slytherin rises up on his tail above him and pats him on the head. "Don't worry, Dad. We'll keep you nice and safe," Slytherin teases, and Pukey slowly turns to look right at him, and it only takes a moment for Slytherin to burst out laughing. Pukey turns back to Thread. "Is there anything else?" he asks. "Not at the moment, but if more begins to happen, I will inform you." "Thank you, ma'am. Now, if you'll excuse us, we must prepare." "Don't worry, we'll keep little Pukey safe," Dong promises, and there is a slightly scrunched expression from the Earthany as she holds back a laugh right before the connection is terminated. Pukey then immediately has to fend off dozens of hands trying to pat him on the head and assure him he's safe.